Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I just realized I left my segment title on throughout our break, but that's okay. We're rolling with the punches today on this Saturday, June 14th. Your host, Jake Daly, alongside my co-host, Mayra Fatemi. All right, let's get into your sport in the NBA. Talk about the New York Knicks. Reportedly to talk to Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown. Mayor, what do you kind of think about these two potential options for the Knicks in their search for a brand new head coach?
Well, I'm happy that they finally decided to request an interview for Taylor Jenkins because that looked like one of those obvious sitting on the table. Taylor Jenkins, a guy that was in Memphis, that kind of turned that organization around from the dog days of Zach Randolph and Mike Conley, bringing in John Morant, bringing in Jaren Jackson Jr., and building that talent up, bringing them all the way to the second round of the playoffs. And honestly, they would have probably gone to the conference finals in 2022 if it wasn't for the Golden State Warriors getting in their way, who ultimately went to the NBA Finals and won the NBA championship. This is a team in the Memphis Grizzlies that's been in the top three of the Western Conference the last 3 years. This is a Memphis Grizzlies team that was in second place of the Western Conference before Taylor Jenkins got fired. And it was a big reason why we were all completely shocked and just taken by surprise that the Memphis Grizzlies would even think about doing that. I think his style kind of fits. It would be interesting to see what he would do with a Jalen Brunson and a Karl Anthony Towns at his disposal. Say they bring in a Kevin Durant as well. That would be even more interesting. But I think that's if there's a guy that's left on the market that I'm kind of eyeing if I'm the New York Knicks, it's Taylor Jenkins. You can say Mike Malone, but if it's between Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown, I'm picking Taylor Jenkins personally.
Yeah, and you talk about Taylor Jenkins. I mean, obviously a really talented head coach, a guy that is Memphis's all-time wins leader, who did that in just 6 seasons there. Um, and obviously, the way the Grizzlies kind of finished the season after they fired Taylor Jenkins, it didn't do anything to hurt Taylor Jenkins' reputation, right? You saw what that team was like without Taylor Jenkins guiding them at the helm. I will say, though, Mike Brown, this is a guy that I think is a little underrated in terms of this search. One thing, too, I think is going to be an underrated facet here is that he has a really close relationship with Knicks executive vice president William Wesley. This dates back to the mid 2000s when Mike Brown was the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. William Wesley was kind of one of LeBron James's guys. So they've gone all the way back to when Mike Brown coached LeBron back in the mid 2000s. And Mike Brown, a guy that has really kind of built himself up as a coaching candidate, was the lead assistant on those Warriors teams under Steve Kerr, and then was hired by the Kings and really had a solid run in Sacramento. Became coach of the year in his first season there, helped them end their playoff drought, and then the wheels kind of fell off a little bit, but I think he was fired a little prematurely. That was my opinion. I wouldn't discount Mike Brown here as a potential option for New York. What do you kind of think about that?
Definitely, I 100% agree with you. This is a guy, Mike Brown, like you said, coached LeBron James, a guy that coached under Steve Kerr in Golden State prior to joining the Sacramento Kings. And it was a big reason why Sacramento was willing to take him because of that experience with Steve Kerr, winning two championships in there. Was not there in 2015, but was there in 2018 and 2019. This is a Mike Brown that brought the light the beam chat, reawakened Sacramento in Kings Nation. Honestly, I agree with you. However, he was there when Tyrese Halliburton got traded to the Indiana Pacers. He was there when they decided to part ways with De'Aaron Fox. Or, okay, that might be a little premature. I don't know if the second part was true. but he was definitely there when Tyrese Halliburton got traded, and that was a big reason why I think there was a little bit of locker room friction between him and De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. You're seeing Domantas Sabonis starting to publicly express his disapproval with how they've treated him over there. When I'm looking at Mike Brown, I like him as a coach. I think he's good when you have good talent. I just don't know if he can handle that New York spotlight, and that is going to play a big role in this market. In this, who ends up getting this job is going to need to be able to is going to need to have a name for himself. Taylor Jenkins has a name for himself. Mike Malone has a name for himself. We were even bringing um, Jim Wright into the conversation. Why? Because he coached at Villanova and won national championships and hasn't been in the NBA, hasn't shown his face in coaching since. We don't know why, but I think we always thought New York would be a good spot for him. Why? Because he has that experience. He's going into the New York market, into a big market. He might want to coach that team. You're going to need to be able to survive that tsunami because when things start going wrong, you're going to hear it everywhere because that spotlight will be on you and that hot seat will be burning like it's sitting in a volcano. So all of that together, I'm just worried Mike Brown won't be able to handle that. And I think that's a big reason why I don't see him as one of those top candidates. If some of the top candidates fade out, I would not be shocked if he gets up there. But there's some candidates above him I would put over. There's some candidates I would put over him.
The one thing I think is kind of interesting too with this whole situation. So New York, they fire Tibbs obviously, and then it kind of seems like they didn't really have a plan after that. Seemed like they had a couple names in mind of potential targets, but there wasn't a clear cut, we're going to go get this guy. Unless they're waiting on somebody that I just haven't seen yet, it doesn't seem like New York really has kind of gone through this coaching process with a plan. You look at all the guys that they got denied to interview: Quinn Snyder, Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, Chris Finch. New York put in requests to interview all of those guys and got denied by every single organization, which I'm not super surprised by. But still, it just seems like New York didn't really kind of have a plan once they fired Tom Thibodeau. Do you see it that way, or do you kind of think that they do actually have one target right now in mind?
I think their plan was trying to steal somebody from these other teams by requesting interviews. And I think I speak for everybody in America saying you are absolutely crazy if you think any of these big name coaches are going to move off of their coaches just so they can go interview for your team, even though they're under contract for our team. I know you said that. I know Jeremy said that. I know Nolan said that. Everybody I've talked to has said the same thing. Um, I think I did not really like that they fired Tom Thibodeau personally, just because I think he used what they gave him. That he worked with what he had. His bench was his Achilles heel, and you say that he wouldn't have even used it if it was good anyway. I get it, but if it was good, he would have used it. Let's be real here. If the Indiana Pacers are going 10-man deep into their rotation, even Tom Thibodeau tried to do that by putting DeLon Wright in, the rookie that they just brought in this past year that didn't really get that many minutes. And what did he do? Get into foul trouble early. Andrew Nemhard picked him apart. And next thing you know, Indiana's going on a run in the third quarter. And you can't use him. So it's unfortunate. Tibbs tried to use what he could. He didn't use it in the regular season. I got it. People were calling for his job in the regular season. I get it. He did come out and beat the Detroit Pistons, something I didn't even think they could do. He did come out and beat the Boston Celtics after going 0 for 4 against them in the regular season. He beat them in 6 games. That has to mean something. He went up against the Indiana Pacers and pushed the series to 6 games. That has to mean something. I understand they should have won. If they had lost to Boston, I get it. But he he beat the defending champs, and he did his job. He just ran into a brick wall, and The other team was he got outmatched. It's just unfortunate, but it's just the way that it shaked out.
Yeah, and you talk about, I think one of the big kind of conversations around Tom Thibodeau is the fact that it almost seems like his teams are limited, their ceilings are limited. But I also kind of question who's a coach out there right now that can raise the ceiling of this New York team? Or do they have to change the composition of the Knicks roster? Do we have to move off of McCall Bridges? Do you move off of Karl Anthony Towns? What do you do for New York to make this a championship roster?
Well, I think if they got rid of Mikal Bridges after 1 year, Leon Rose would be on the hottest seat of all time. He would be. I can't even compare him to a. I can't even compare him to any GM I've ever seen because if you are able to give up 5 first-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets, not only to anybody else, to the Brooklyn Nets, and then you give up you're that guy after 1 year. New York would go up in flames calling for Leon Rose's dismissal from the Knicks. It's unfortunate, but it's how it would shake out. I don't he might just be untouchable for that reason. Karl Anthony Towns, as much as I love him, as much as I hate him with his back against the basket, I think he has the footwork of a child sometimes. No disrespect, Cat. You have the best shot of any big man in basketball. But I think that shooting makes him very valuable in the league, especially with the new style of the NBA. And I think if it keeps coming, I think there's a reason why there's rumors of Kevin Durant being added to this team, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But there's a reason those rumors are real. There's a reason Jimmy Butler's rumors were real when Miami was trying to get rid of him. They are in trying to dial up this team. They're trying to beef up this roster, trying to make it a little bit of a deeper team. And they don't really mind going up into that luxury tax apron if they have to. They want to pay these guys. They want to try and capture a championship. But what you have to do to do that is you have to load up that roster. I don't mean the starting lineup. I mean make it deep enough to match up with the Indiana Pacers because this is the new style of the NBA, unfortunately. Not even unfortunately, just how it is.
Yeah, I think whoever New York hires, it's certainly going to be a ton of spotlight put onto that head coach just with this roster and what they kind of were built to be. They were built to beat Boston. They beat Boston. Are they built to win an NBA championship? I'm not really sure if they are right now. I don't know if I'm going to put all of my poker chips towards the New York Knicks at this moment. But it's certainly going to be an interesting conversation, and we're going to have to just see who ends up being their new head coach. I don't know if it's going to be one of these old veterans or if it's a newer, younger assistant. I think that's also very much a possibility still at this point, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But right now, we are going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to keep rolling on this NBA train and talk a little more about the finals and some potential X factors for Game 5. So stick around and stick with us. We'll be right back on the GSMC Sports Podcast.